Hey, hey, you are listening to the OCRAP Potty Training Podcast. I am your host, Jamie Glowacki, and I am the author of OCRAP Potty Training and OCRAP, I Have a Toddler. Today, I want to talk about learning, and learning, of course, as it applies to potty training. Because recently, both for me and the OCRAP certified consultants, there has been a wave of sort of confusion about learning. So first and foremost, let's be really clear. You are not teaching your child how to pee and poop. Your child knows how to pee and poop. Their body does it quite automatically, right? We're not teaching that when we're potty training. We're teaching where to put that pee and poop, okay? And even if you have a child who is a withholder, that requires extra help. You can, in my pooping solutions course for the poop withholding, pee withholding, you need a consult. But that usually is spurred on either by potty training or some other stressor. And yes, it requires some help, but that is not teaching your child to pee and poop. There's something usually wrong with the pelvic floor, pulling on it like an elastic band, or it can be, some sort of muscular reaction to anxiety, as I've talked a lot on this podcast about. So we're not teaching children how to pee and poop, just where to put it. When we look at learning in general, learning is done through repetition and consistency and devoting time to that project. So anything, if you are trying to learn a foreign language, if you are trying to learn a game, if you inconsistently play that game, if you don't devote any headspace or time to learning the ins and outs of the game, if you don't repeat it a lot, you will not learn it, right? And we know this as adults. In my book, I say, I've tried to learn how to knit for years. I do it so inconsistently. Every time I pick up the knitting needles, I'm back at ground zero. I am currently taking Italian lessons, but I'm a busy adult and I don't have very much time. And so I'm not making very much progress because I'm not devoting the time, the headspace, right? The commitment and the consistency and the repetition. So that is how we learn. Now, for all kinds of learning, there are general learning curves, right? Like you should, a foreign language clearly takes, around a certain amount of time to be able to travel in that country and get away with ordering things off the menu. Where's the bathroom? How do I make a hotel reservation? To be fluent in that takes a lot longer and usually requires some sort of immersion, right? Same thing with anything, any kind of learning. If we look at the next big learning for your child may be learning how to tie their shoes, ride a bike, or learn how to read. If we look at a child learning how to read, some kids can pick up a book and practically teach themselves. It's amazing, right? Other kids really struggle. And most kids fall somewhere in between where they have to just sound things out, learn some sight words, the repetition of going to school every day, learning the alphabet, words that begin with A, B, C. They learn through time, through repetition, consistency, and commitment. And that is largely what happens in school. It used to be first grade, but I'm hearing now it's kindergarten. So those are the things, right, that we have to pay attention to. Now, when we look at learning in those contexts, let's take reading. If your child, there is an expected time frame, right? The teacher has benchmarks of like, okay, this is where most kids should be. If your kid is not there, the teacher might say, hey, you got to devote some more time at home with this, right? Like, so your child's just a little bit, behind, which I hate that term, but whatever. And they'll warn you like, hey, just to let you know, you're not in the normal range. Okay, great. You may then put some more devotion into that. You may put some more commitment into, we haven't been reading that much at night because we're all so busy. So let's get back to doing that. If another time frame goes by and your child still isn't learning, the teacher may say, hey, maybe we should test for some dyslexia or what's going on. Like, I remember my brother really struggled and they checked in with like, hey, what's he eating for breakfast? Like, what's his diet? Is he getting enough sleep? Like checking in on these really basic things, right? But it's like, okay, now there's a little bit more of a warning signal. So that's how that works. Now with potty training, the learning absolutely has to be with repetition, consistency, commitment. This is why I'm so against people using, pull-ups as the sole body training tool, right? Like, and taking a year to do it. I hear from people all the time, it's taking a year because it's inconsistent, right? And I know a lot of people fear like wetting the pants, I understand that, but that is inconsistent. That's just why it's taking so long, with no emotionality attached to it. Now, what I'm finding in my work is parents are so slogged down. And I know especially right now, it's like really hard with the economy. Like people are working extra hours or overtime or have a side gig, but people just don't have the time to devote to potty training. And I'm saying this without judgment, without shame, without guilt. If you don't have time, it's not going to go well. And so when we look at a child who might be struggling with potty training, we have to look at, are we consistent? Are we repeating this? Are we doing everything, devoting the time, the commitment that this child needs to learn? Potty training for your average kid should take the bulk of the work. The heavy lifting should take 3 to 7 days. And that is like, you should see a light at the end of the tunnel. My book is arranged in blocks. So there's like more quantifiable data, right? On how to move on to the next block and when to move back if you're struggling. But that has to happen. And what I'm repeatedly finding with clients, and this is across the board, even with my consultants, is parents are taking like 3 or 4 days and then the child immediately has to go back to daycare. Remember that learning doesn't go across, it's not transferable. It doesn't go across every plane. Meaning when your child learns to ride a bike, they're not going to be able to go uphill or go mountain biking down a rooty, rocky trail. When they learn to walk, same thing. They're not going to be able to maybe even handle plush rugs, never mind a rocky, rooty trail, right? These things, every new situation takes a little bit more learning. Same thing for potty training. So I want to talk about this because I'm getting so many clients who are like, oh my God, I've been at this for 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, well, wow, 2 weeks. Yeah, definitely good for you for reaching out for help. That's awesome. Because it shouldn't be taking 2 weeks, particularly if your child's over 24 months. Under 24 months, we can talk about a longer learning curve. And that is always why under 24 months, I don't recommend potty training if your child's in full-time daycare, because chances are you are not going to get the support you need just for the sheer numbers. Daycare providers can only watch your child. It's not usually one-on-one. So I don't recommend that because that child may have a longer learning curve. Every child will learn this, right? But some kids will struggle, just like they may struggle with reading. And that's when it's time to get help. What I'm finding, though, is parents will say, yes, I've been working at it for, 2 weeks. We're seeing no progress. Oh, well, on day 3, yes, no, we had to go, we had a family event at the, apple orchard and we had to take pictures. So I had to put them in a diaper for that day. Okay. That's a break in the consistency, right? And remember, kids want to be in a diaper. Most kids do. It's comfort. It's what they know. It's a huge developmental milestone. It's a huge transition. So the idea that your kid wants to be diaper free is not always the case, right? Or, we're just coming off of summer. I heard this a lot. Yeah, we potty trained, then we had a family beach vacation and, or we went to my parents' country club. We stayed with my parents and we were at their country club every day and they had to wear a swim diaper. If your child's wearing a diaper 90% of the time, again, there's not that consistency. I understand life happens. You have to do things. I understand that, but I don't know how to stress this. Like we have to take the time, whether that's a vacation time or it really is the best if you can stay close to home for 7 days. I lay out in my book how you can get out of the house and how you do that, but you can't be going on all these, trips. I mean, you can, but then don't be shocked when I don't want to tell you what to do, but don't be shocked if your child's not really getting it. Now, I want to bring up 2 specific cases because I think these are really important cases. So one is I was working with a client and her son was 22 months and wonderful mom. And to be fair, this kid was like taking off his own diaper. He was like, no more diaper. I don't want it, So showing every every sign of readiness, even though I don't even really believe in signs of readiness. But this kid, you couldn't ask for it, right? He wanted to be diaper free. So the mom was like, okay, she had 4 weeks before he was starting preschool. She was like, yeah. And she had potty trained her older daughter using Oh Crap. She was like, I got this totally. And after 4 weeks, nothing, no progress whatsoever. And so, I was recommending a reset to her, and she was devastated, as many parents are, because they put in so much work, and they're like, I don't want to step back. And in those cases, it's really not a step back. It's a reset is to like recalibrate, right? Everybody take a breath, take a breather, because something's not working, and it shouldn't take that long. If it is taking that long, something's gone awry. And the problem with this family was that the child was now backed up against the preschool deadline or the daycare deadline. And the daycare just doesn't have, they try, but, they usually just don't have the resources to keep that close an eye on a child. So now the child was going to be in diapers the majority of the day. And I was like, gosh, you only have a couple of hours with him at night. Do you really want it to be potty training? And then he's wearing a night diaper. So at that point, just because running up against a deadline, the better solution was to reset. But that's a 22-month-old. And always under 24 months, I want to leave a lot of room. I love parents who try to potty train before 24 months. A large majority of kids do it lickety split, no problem. I hear all the time from people from 16 to 18 months, 20 months. Some kids are great. So I always think it's worth a try in case you have a rock star who it clicks. It's just the right timing. Everything's great. So I always think it's worth a try. But I also think you got to know when to quit, because here's the kicker. After enough repetition and consistency, they're going to learn something else. And that is, it's okay to pee and poop in my pants or on the floor. So once a child consistently starts peeing and pooping on the floor or in their pants, we almost have to go to a reset, because they're using repetition and consistency in the wrong area. And so it just becomes a thing. It becomes a habit so quickly, and there's nowhere to go from that. Now, there aren't any ramifications for this child that are severe enough to change that behavior. And I say that because if you think about it, a kid who learns through repetition and consistency that I can pee and poop in my pants, what are you going to do to deter that child from doing it? Now, by the time people come to me, they often say, well, I tried rewards and he doesn't care about that. Or I tried taking his toys away and he doesn't care about that. So those aren't hefty enough rewards or consequences for the child, right? The only thing severe enough would be so severe, we don't do those things, right? Back in the day, 100 years ago, they probably beat the kid. We don't do that. We don't leave them in their excrement. We don't yell at them, right? We don't do these things anymore. And so there's nowhere to go. So then it's like, okay, let's just take a break and recalibrate. Now, another case, I haven't worked one-on-one with this person, but somebody on Instagram was pretty adamant that I do a podcast about kids who are taking a really long time to potty train. And it's been a year, and her little one is, still peeing in her pants all the time. And I was at a loss because I said, she said, I don't know how to deal with this, and I'd like you to do a podcast on it. And I was like, but I almost can't do a podcast how to deal with that, because the solution is something went wrong, right? And I don't know what that is. And when I say wrong, I don't mean like something horrible and earth shaking, I think it's something, there's a glitch in learning somewhere. But I will say that once a child gets to that point where it's daily and consistent and constant, that is now the repetition and consistency that the child has learned. And now they're learning something else, right? And that is the danger, because backing that up is just really hard to do. So that's when I say, if it's available, we do, we do a reset. Absolutely. And then you have to get help, because there could be all kinds of things. I hear of so many weird things. I couldn't even possibly list them, but we start running through things. Is it a pelvic floor weakness? Is it something with the sphincter muscles? And there are tests for these at certain ages. But what most parents run into is your pediatrician's not going to even allow for these tests, because our cultural norm has shifted to, it's okay to be going to kindergarten in diapers, which oh my God, I'm getting barraged right now with people who are sending their kids to kindergarten, 5 and 6 years old, in diapers. And the kindergarten teachers, this is all over everywhere. I'm hearing it on morning television shows. I'm hearing it on, making it laws in certain places. It's nuts. So that's become almost a cultural norm. Like your pediatrician, if your kid's 3.5 peeing their pants constantly, that something is up, whether it's physical or behavioral. That has to be sorted out, because on a one-on-one basis, because like I couldn't possibly do a podcast just solving that. But I would say, if available, your child should reset, get back in a diaper so you can start over and try to pinpoint where it was. So I find that in these cases where things get sort of out of control for a long period of time, it really does just take some unwinding, because again, the child's now learned a different behavior, and it could be something physical. I can one-on-one, I can say what I think based on, a lengthy intake, but it's not any information like across the board that I would say I can give it to. But the more important thing is, if the child's a little bit older, you might look into other testing, and the child might be able to get an IEP, or not with an IEP, but a 501, it's called in most states, is like a concession that maybe the child has to be in a diaper. But I do encourage you that after a certain amount of time, if your child is just wetting their pants, there's been a glitch somewhere, and it really, really, really shouldn't be taking that long. And so it's a matter of getting help, really. So you can absolutely pinpoint. I just keep seeing this playing out because we're not allowing, again, it's usually a question of commitment and consistency and repetition, right? And we're not seeing enough time devoted to it. And so people sometimes hear that and they say, oh, I'm going to give them more time, meaning I'm going to let this play out before I get help. But again, what is your child learning? What are they doing consistently? Because that's what's going to go in. That's what's going to be learned. But I don't mean waiting years even to start potty training. Because again, I just cannot believe that there are kindergartners going to school in diapers. And of course, I'm talking about neurotypical, average developing kids. Some things, there's a glitch in the matrix somewhere. And so I encourage you to get help. I hope that clears up like the learning, how long it should take. And there's always wiggle room, you guys. This is going to have to go on my gravestone. I swear to God, this is the only milestone that we accept. We expect every child to do it perfectly, and do it the same way every single kid. And it's the only milestone we track in days. Oh, 3 days? No. If they take 3 days, they're not ready to be potty trained. Then how'd you end up with a 6-year-old in diapers? That's kind of kooky, right? But I just think a kid who's like maybe not walking, and you might express concern, be like, oh, my kid's not exactly walking yet. And people will go, oh, well, if they don't do it in 3 days, we don't use days for any other milestone, right? Oh, how many days till your child slept through the night? How many days did it take your kid to learn how to tie their shoes? We don't do that. And potty training is one of them. So I don't think that putting, I don't like a strict timeline. I don't like these 3-day potty trainings. Of course, that's way too much pressure. It's delusional for so many parents because they take a long weekend and then that's not enough time. So I encourage you, when I say time, I mean time devoted to the process. And in that, especially now that 24 months to, I'll even go to 36 months. I'll even give you guys to 3 because that's more of a cultural norm right now, even though I think they're way more capable younger. But during that time, if your kid asked to be changed, if they go to a corner to poop in, they are aware of their bodily sensations. That is the awareness. Yeah. I always leave room. There's kids who will be clueless, who will, I say, just pee, not even know it's happening, slip in their pee and knock their head and not know what happened, right? Usually that's overhydration. But if your kid is truly clueless, feel free to reset, and you can reset anytime, but you can't do it more than once, because then your child just learns that's what we do. Okay, we do this potty training thing for a few days and then I pitch a fit and then I get the diaper back. So it's a very interesting thing, but it shouldn't be too short and it shouldn't be too long, I guess, is the moral of the story, right? If you're trying to potty train in 3 days, that's not enough time. If potty training's taking you 6 weeks, that's too much time. Something's gone wrong. And you have to be honest. You have to check in with yourself. Have I been consistent? Have I provided the repetition? Have I been committed to it? Because so many parents think they are, or they're like, yeah, no, I've been potty training. Oh, we just took a trip and then we did this and then we did that. And I'm like, all right, well, you can see where the inconsistency comes from. And again, do what you want to do. It's your life. It's your family. I have no vested interest. I just don't like it when parents take themselves by surprise and say like, I don't know what's going on. And then we dig a little deeper and I'm like, okay, well, I do, because it's a lack of this, that, or the other thing. So just trying to give you guys those tools so you can self-diagnose the problem and hopefully clean up whatever's going on for you, because ideally that's best, right? Okay, as always, I appreciate you guys listening. Rock on and have a beautiful day.